Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PTCA board meeting of Thursday, September 29th. I'm Richard Vasquez, and a quorum is present. I'd like to introduce my colleagues from left to right, starting with Richard Miller.
You're introducing my
No, introduce yourselves.
Richard Miller, Tower 1 Director.
No, first the board members.
First on board, I'm subservient.
Michael Baruch, Tower 3, board member.
Judy Farmer, Tower 3, board member for the whole darn place.
Soheila Poplar, Tower 2.
Wade Weston, Tower 3. Joe Michelle, Tower 1.
Nancy Kukuza, Tower 1.
Mike Cricco, 2.
Okay, and we have some guests this evening. Would you like to introduce yourself, Council?
John Hay, legal counsel.
Okay, and can somebody pass a microphone in?
Arthur Bartkowski for Service Residential.
Light Montanero, First Service Residential.
Wendy Basimovich, Livo Limited.
And Mark Greenberg, First Service Residential.
Okay, our first order of business is the approval of the open meeting minutes of August 16th.
Excuse me, this is a postponed meeting. Could you let us know what newspapers you're going to postpone the meeting?
Our first order of business is the approval of the open meeting minutes
How
of
do we know?
August.
This is a
You're out of order, please.
John, are they supposed to let us know what newspapers they posted the notice?
This is a board, Elena, if you interfere again, I'm going to ask you to leave.
The owners have the right to know.
Yes, we will, but we'll conduct the meeting. We'll be happy to address all questions after the meeting.
It's usually the
Okay?
first thing.
Thank you. Okay, the first order of business approval open board meeting minutes of August 16th. Okay, do I have a motion?
Yeah, I make the motion
I make a motion to approve the open minute meetings of August 16, 2018.
Okay, do I have a second?
I say.
Okay, discussion on the motion? Okay, I call the vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, next order of business is my comments. I'd like to stand up for this, okay? The board's been working on a lot of issues and not on a patchwork basis. We're working on things that are problems for the galaxy for decades. A building that has an infrastructure that's been falling apart. Our services, and what is the root of our service problems? Is it management? Is it the employees that we have? Is it the skill set of the employees? Or just that we're not paying enough to get the right people? These are all very, very difficult questions. And they take a lot of consideration because at the same time, we have to be very sensitive to the economic tolerances that our community faces. I can't tell you how many times, we're working on strategic plans. There are water towers and air conditioners, hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace. Plumbing systems that are broken. So, but we also have people here that have been here for many years and they're on fixed incomes. And we can't just ignore them. And also, how do we let you know what we're doing when we're spending hours at a time reading and developing RFPs, evaluating different ways of doing things? It's just an amazing task. And I know a lot of you are frustrated, and I will say that I have to take responsibility, buck stops with me, that we could do a hell of a lot better job in communicating the stuff, what's going on to you. And we just don't seem to be doing a good job at it. So people get frustrated and they lash out and they say things, you know, sometimes they don't say it in a way that's comfortable. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but we could all do a better job of communicating with each other, because respect and civility is the most important thing. I've been spending a lot of time on committees, and the board is dedicated to committees and working all on very difficult tasks. So we're making changes, trying to reorganize things, and we don't get it right all the time, but we do have a responsibility to tell you what we're doing, and at least what thoughts went into it, and why we did what we did. On that note, we've made a big decision on pursuing a relationship with a nationally recognized amenities company. And we've heard your concerns about what are the economics of this. Is it going to cost $600,000, $700,000? Is it $50,000 more? Is it $20,000 more? You know, I hear things and I can't really believe the numbers, because, you know, those are not the numbers. But it's because we failed at communicating with you better, you know, and that's why going to these committee meetings is so important. That being said, we're going to do a couple of things as part of the President's message, and one of the things is to communicate the economics and the finances that went into, and the assumptions that went into that decision. Okay, the major piece that went into that decision is that we want the spa to be run with efficiency, in a professional way, with professionally skilled people, not young people. We have young people. We've had problems there throughout summer. We want to.
Drifting in and out.
Okay. So anyway, so we wanted first to make sure that everything was run appropriately and professionally, and not with kids. You know, we wanted adults and people that were trained and people that we could count on. The other consideration that went into it was to make sure that whatever we did wouldn't interfere with the joys and the relationships that you have with your trainers and the people that you work with. But we also wanted we recognize that nationally, if you look at hotels, if you look at condominiums, you look at any multifamily luxury environment that wants to project itself, the first thing that people go to when you're trying to sell a property is to the amenities. And we have an incredible amenity in the Galaxy. The Galaxy Spa and pool and its views, that's the core of our value. And when people come here, they need to see a place that's improving, a place that's modern, a place that they want to live, and not only move to, but have a lifestyle with. And we chose a company that nationally is recognized for taking properties like ours to a new level of services and amenities. And there are, and we need to let you know, when we were looking at the economics of this, that there is a place called Briarwood. Is everybody familiar with the condo Briarwood? They just rebranded, like what we're trying to do, rebrand the Galaxy into a more modern, up-to-date facility. And in their rebranding, they modernized, they changed their name, they changed their view, and they've had a 20% increase in their values. We think that enhancing Galaxy values is the key to making the Galaxy great again. A hotel, a condominium with hotel services. This is what we want for you. This is what we think we need to bring, we need to introduce, take us, all of us together to the future. So, if you look at this as a $400 million asset, if we do it right, even conservatively on a 1% basis, it could have a $4 million impact on our asset. So, you know, it wasn't just, and if you look at how much money we've put into managing the Galaxy over the years, okay, and the dissatisfaction with issues, including $600,000 of distressed asset, because that's how much damage has been done, because all of these years that we were managing, we weren't doing preventive maintenance. So if you go downstairs, you'll look at a mechanical room that looks like it's been abandoned. So, that being said, those were the wide brush issues that we considered when we were going into the spa. We want to rebrand the Galaxy using the spa, improving the look, modernizing the feel, and make it into a true condominium with a hotel lifestyle. Now, I'm going to hand this over to Joe so he can so he and his and accounting can Tommy can go over the numbers that went into this.
I cannot see. Can you maybe fill in the numbers? Do you have
We want to see the numbers. Or give us a piece of paper so we can see the numbers.
Can't do it now, but we'll put this on Building Link tomorrow. If it's okay.
You can move the table back.
We'll put it on Building Link.
Or enlarge it on the screen as a PDF. Enlarge the size of the PDF.
Who has the full screen?
Yes, you said it last year if you want. I know what my computer.
You want to turn it around?
Why don't you let me get up, let me get up, and speak up a little bit though.
That's right. Can we move it over?
Well, that's better.
Oh, turn it, hold on,
We're
yeah.
changing color. So we're just gonna go into a section and then we're gonna blow it up. So hang on one second. Just blow up like section by section. That's better.
Can everybody see at this point?
Well, the numbers are visible, it's just that they can't see that.
As best I
How you doing?
It's better. It's much better.
Maybe, just do it on the wall, maybe we just put it on the wall.
Put it on the wall.
We can't.
How about in the middle of the room so people from over there can see it?
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, how about if you move past the sconce this way?
Maybe you want to move it the other way.
Hey, it was
Over that way.
It was first.
I can look in here.
What happened?
Relocate the table.
Everybody can see it.
We need a book to make it level.
There, right, perfect. Let's do it. No, now it comes.
It was perfect.
Everybody leaves.
Fell down.
I missed it.
It
What's
was
that line? Oh, they must have. They don't need to see the head.
Okay, guys.
Come on, come on.
Stop on one, let it go.
Hold it.
Now you killed it all.
Move it there. Leave it there. Leave it there. It's on the side. We're gonna be
That's the biggest thing yet.
The only thing I'm not seeing what they're doing.
You're just gonna have to.
Don't touch it.
Okay, guys. Are we ready?
Yes, leave it there.
Okay.
Down. Okay, perfect.
Tommy, feel free to jump in.
So, just to start this presentation, I just want to be clear, these are, numbers that were vetted through the board based on board discussions and what the board priorities were based on homeowner feedback as well as what the priorities of individual board members were. And as the board met through this, we kind of hashed through the numbers to kind of look at comparison. What we were hearing from some board members were saying, from the community, where they were comparing the 2018 budget to the 2019 budget, and, the differences between what the budget would be from 2018, where we were self-sufficient, versus 2019, where we were outsourcing. So we kind of tried to do an apples-to-apples comparison of what the 2019, I don't know if the other mic works better, this one keeps fading out. I'm not sure if this is better.
Better.
So what we tried to do is do an apples comparison. We have a 2018 budget, which was the actual budget. We do a walk to the 2019 as if we were self-sufficient, as well as comparing to the new contract with which is detailed, a detailed breakout of that. And again, I want to be clear, these numbers were vetted through the board, through board meetings, talking about what the priorities of the board were, and how to upgrade the spa, regardless of whether we kept it internal or whether we kept it external, as well as with the new regulations that were out there. And we also heard, whether or not we had the right to be grandfathered in to the new rules that were out there regarding lifeguards. And the board has looked into that, and my understanding is that this contract is nimble, that if we don't need the number of lifeguards, that number would be reduced. However, there's a lot of decisions that go into whether or not you're going to comply with code, as there's various risks as well as opportunities to deciding whether or not you would like to not comply with code. We're in the process of understanding what the insurance, impact would be to that by not complying with the state code, as well as, if we have the right, my understanding, and Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is an application process that takes time where you have to literally apply to the state And my understanding of this is, if you apply for it, you're basically saying you need no lifeguards. I'm not sure if Richard can speak, it's probably like Richard speak to this better than mine.
Okay,
Some people-
let me be more specific. Gail, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We did look into the issue that you raised. The issue is that we are required to meet additional coverage for our pools because they're over 2,000 square feet. I spoke to 3 people today, okay, and all 3 agreed that that if we try to opt out of not having the additional security guards, we create an immense liability for ourselves, situation for ourselves, because we've opted out to meet with the state regulation. And the company that we've hired, which is a national company that is responsible for managing our pool, would no longer take responsibility or liability because we would have opted out with compliance with the regulation. The other thing is that we are dealing with children and families, and having a regulation on the books which calls for 2 lifeguards is there for a reason, and it's what the state considers safe. And again, if anything happens, we're looking like we took an easy way out, and the dollars are minimus. And you'll see that if you look at the economics are quite satisfactory based on a projected budget for the pool with, and a projected budget without the new company. The difference is minimus.
So the first line that so the board went line by line through the budget and just kind of looked at what our expectations were. In 2018 budget, we had budgeted $60,000 for a spa manager, based on a live contract at $65,000, and based on what we feel that if we were going to do it alone in 2019, we upped that number to $75,000. Our assumption for the $75,000, after meeting with numerous firms that do outsourcing, we feel that the majority of the quality managers for spas are going to work with companies like Live and other companies that we met. People that can't get jobs at those companies are the same ones that are coming to the Galaxy. And for the 5 years I've been on the board, we've had turnover every year. We couldn't keep a manager for over a year. The homeowners as well as the board were dissatisfied with the performance of that person. So we felt that if we were going to actually get somebody outside of an outsourced company, we would have to pay a premium to get a quality person to entice them to come here and do the quality work that we would need for them to do. In 2018, we did not budget for an assistant manager, and again, based on quality and the work performance that's been done, we feel that if we were going to have a manager, we would need an in-house manager, assistant manager, so that at all times we'd be able to have a management type of go-to person. Because again, the complaints that we've been hearing are, there's younger people that don't have authority in the spa, that don't have the answers that we need, and it's irregardless of what time you come, whether you're coming at 6 in the morning, whether you're coming at 5 in the afternoon, 8 at night. If you have a problem, you want that problem to be addressed by somebody in authority. So we decided if we were going to do it by ourselves and upgrade the spa, and again, I want to emphasize to the homeowners that there are 2 pieces to this. There were the new regulations as well as upgrading the spa, regardless of if we went with an outside firm or an inside firm. So that's why you're seeing in 2018 we had no budget, but in 2019 we had a $45,000 budget for an assistant manager to help assist the management so that at all times we would increase the quality of the spa. In the third row, we're basically saying that there's assistants and desk attendants and all the other staff that kind of handles the spa outside of the lifeguards. From 2018 to 2019, if we did it in-house, it's relatively flat, a slight inflation, but we again did an apples to apples comparison from outsourcing it based on number of hours that the spa is open and number of employees that we would need in the spa at any given time. So you can see there's a slight premium for outsourcing, but again, I think that's going to the quality and the work that you're gonna see coming from the outside person, whereas in the past, again, the board is receiving numerous complaints between management and the board of dissatisfaction. I would be fair to say that maybe we were a little under-aggressive in our 19 estimates if we were gonna do it alone, as quality of, in the sense of you get what you pay for with employees, and if you want good employees, you may have to pay a little bit more for them. And, you know, again, at this point in time, that's what the board believes they're getting with outsourcing Live, because the buck stopped, you know, with the management of Live versus us doing an internal in that instance. If we go down to the next section, that starts with the lifeguards, and when you're looking at this comparison again, we decided to put in our budget in 2018, you're seeing $150,000 for 2018. In 2019, for the Galaxy, again, that's where the 294 is. That double number is basically because we're saying, at this point, we're compliant, we're saying we're being compliant with the code, so you went from basically 2 to 4 lifeguards at the pools at all times. But the other piece of the reason, you may say that the outdoor pool isn't open all year, so why is the number double? Based on input from the board, input from the owners, and in my opinion, the majority of the board was saying that they wanted more seasoned people here. Based on this new regulation that's out there, there is a shortage of lifeguards. So if you're going to need more lifeguards, you're actually going to have to pay more money to get good lifeguards, because no pun intended, but the pool of lifeguards is less than what it was. And the good lifeguards, again, are going to companies like Live and outsourced companies for the stability versus going to an individual, you know, an individual property where the job security may not be as strong, where, you know, a company like Live or any of the other companies can send them from place to place where we may have to pay a premium. So we did up the average rate in that 294 versus the 150, and our sense of the board was that was to get a more seasoned as well, an experienced person, as well as putting a little bit of an inflator in there due to the fact that there are less lifeguards out there. And Liv's number and our number are again apples to apples, and you'll see in Liv's number, their number is less at about 240 versus the 294, and that again is one of the benefits of outsourcing, because they're pooling, people are going to those companies, the kid, and as well as, you know, seasoned lifeguard, they're going to those companies knowing they're going to have a job and have the flexibility and have the support of a big company versus a small lack of a better word, one condominium. We're not a small condominium, but it is just one condominium versus the diversity as well as the growth potential that you could get at working for a Live. The other piece that Live has is a supervisor. And that again is, you know, that's their input that we need, you know, we do need that because we're getting homeowners saying the lifeguards are falling asleep, lifeguards are going out to lunch and grabbing coffee, lifeguards are walking, you know, doing things they're not supposed to be doing. And without supervision, how do you maintain that control? And, you know, this is chain of command and leveling up. So that's part of the whole bid process to say we need to get controls around this. We need to make sure people are doing their job, and that's what management does, as well as it feeds down through the ranks. The next section, we can scroll up. So the next section just is basically relating to overtime. One of the benefits of outsourcing is the responsibility of the outsourcing company. So you'll see that there's $0 in Livs, because if somebody doesn't show up, they're responsible for it. We're not responsible for covering that person. If a person goes on maternity leave, they're responsible for finding a replacement. These are things that now are outside of the Galaxy, whereas if you know, employees of the spa, if we're managing it, we're responsible for finding somebody. If somebody calls out sick last minute, if somebody comes in 2 hours late, we're paying overtime to our employees. So you'll see we went from $3,000 in the 18 budget. We estimated it at $15,000 for the 19 budget, and that basic estimate went up just strictly due to the fact that A, we have an assistant manager, and B, we have a higher base salary for any of the for the most part, the lifeguards. So if they have to work overtime, we estimated that there would be a little bit more overtime. The next section is just the payroll taxes based on and the medical and all of that is just calculated based on the wages that we've already discussed. So that's just a multiple of those numbers. So as those numbers increase or decrease, those numbers would adjust. But at that point in time, we can get to the total spa salary and benefits line, which in the 18 budget was 346. Outsourcing would be 550, and ours would be 587 if we outsourced. And again, this is strictly with the assumptions that we hired the spa manager would be here for a full year. The assistant, everybody would be here implied full year. There'd be no vacancy with open positions. Everybody's fully staffed and we're fully functional. So that, based on that, that's where the line would go, again, based on the quality, the upgrade of the spa for the 19 budget versus the 18 budget. And I think part of the point the board wants me to make tonight is comparing the 18 budget to the 19 budget with the new regulations. You're comparing apples to oranges, you're not comparing apples to apples. And again, I know there's people in the audience that are going to say we don't need to comply, and we're saying that we're looking into it, we're trusting it, the board is looking at it, we're working with the companies, and if it's determined that we don't need to have the extra lifeguards, then those will be discussions with the group that we can reduce the staff at that point in time. But there are a lot of legal liabilities and things of that nature around that. So we have to make smart decisions before we put the whole community at risk. Because we're saying, personally, I'm looking at it, if the state put a code out that you need 2 lifeguards per pool, and we at the Galaxy say, we only think we need 1. And maybe that lifeguard is not paying attention, as people said. We're not talking about somebody stubbing their toe, we're not talking about somebody tripping, we're potentially talking about a child drowning. And the liability of that, we already struggle with our insurance due to a lot of claims that we get. I think the board needs to take a hard look and debate whether or not they want to comply with the state code, because there's a reason the state came up with that code. So I don't think it's something you just jump to and say there's an immediate cost saving, because sometimes you can get a cost saving up front and it can really hurt you in the future, because if, God forbid, anybody drowned in our pool, the liability that we have and the reputation that we would have would hurt us. And that's just my opinion. That's up for board discussion. And again, we're collecting a lot of data and analytics and speaking with Liv and meeting these companies. That's one of the things they do. They're going to know how many people are using the pool at certain hours, how many people, when the peak times are. They're going to be looking and into this stuff. So we are going to get more intel versus, just having the staff here that's just, yes, they checked in, yes, people went down. They're going to be looking at things. So I just wanted to address that quickly. The next section comes to the training, and right now where part of the contract with Liv is training, and they are training. There's going to be on-site and off-site training, is my understanding. And when Wendy makes her presentation, she can correct me if I'm wrong, so I apologize, but that was my understanding. They want to be on site, they want to understand what's happening, they want to understand the community, what's important to us, what's not important to us. And before people come on site, they're going to have a level of training, but that training doesn't just stop at the office. It's going to be driven into the community and make sure that things are being addressed and where our problem areas are. We've talked to them already about security, who's entering the spa, who isn't entering the spa, make sure guests are captured. So they are definitely, understanding, from a high level. And once they get in here, this is their business, they're the expert. They're going to hone in on the areas that need to be addressed versus the areas that are working well. But that is in the budget. It's a little more challenging for us to do on our own, to get a formal process in. But these are small dollars, so I don't want to go crazy with them. But you can see the spa uniforms, we would pay a little bit more. Again, that's the benefit of outsourcing, because they're getting uniforms for multiple complexes, we're getting them for one. Another thing that isn't actually on here, but I think should be brought up, are the connections that the firm has. They have connections with gym equipment companies and things of that nature. I'm not saying they would purchase it, but they can make recommendations, and if they have connection and, preferred vendors and things like that, we would fall, be able to benefit and reap the rewards of that. Making sure we're getting, the top-notch things, not necessarily trendy things, but things that are attractive to current homeowners as well as potential buyers. So those are, they're experts in just spa, and that's what they're bringing to the table. So I think we can go on to the next section, because for the most part, those are smaller dollars, but overall, the bottom line with the spa expenses for the contract that the board is voting on tonight, you're looking at, in the 2018 budget, you're looking at, it was $377,000. The outsourced number that we'll be voting on tonight is $620,000. And if we were to do it on our own, again, I want to stress so there's no confusion and no misinformation. This is with the new salary rates. This is upping the salary for the spa manager, getting an assistant manager in, getting more qualified lifeguards that aren't making minimum wage. We would be at $590,000. The difference between the two is approximately $30,000. And that, the board is looking at this is the upgrade. This is what Richard was talking about in his president's address, where we're looking to get a hotel service, we're looking for quality, we're looking for white glove, we're looking for somebody that's expert in spa only. We want to bring this to a new level, we want to bring ideas, we want to try different things, we want to put feelers out to the community to see what's interested, market the spa, have new owners come in and look in a room and say, wow, this is, nice, not just an empty room that's dated back into the 1980s. So there, it doesn't just end with bringing in Liv. In my opinion, what I got was the sense of the board, this is the beginning of upgrading the spa, not the end number. This is bringing somebody in here that knows spa, knows what people want, know what potential buyers want, know how to keep people happy that are here, so that, all of that goes into the decision. And based on the numbers, and again, to be clear, these numbers are being fully compliant with the new code. Anybody, people can dispute all they want whether we can or we can't. At this point in time, I feel the board believes they have the flexibility that if we don't need to be compliant, it makes financial and risk sense not to be compliant. Those are discussions that can be had in the future. But to start out with a new company and a new branding of the spa, we feel it makes sense to be fully compliant for insurance purposes, for starting off the right way, starting off on the right foot. And as this stuff all of this can be analyzed, and the needs and the use of the pool and everything else around that, I think you need that data before you can really make these financial decisions that may look like they save you a few dollars up front, but on the back end can cost you a lot more. So again, that's something that may be disputed, it may be brought up later, it may be brought out through email, but the board is fully aware of what is going on around that, and these are board decisions to make based on community input, as well as the intel we're getting from legal, as well as the expert firms, that are going to be here. So the next section is really the stuff that falls outside of the contract that would normally be recurring expenses that happen at the Galaxy, and those are the spa repair and maintenance, their materials and supplies, and we're basically saying we're upping them a little bit because based on having the firms come in and look at our property, some of them were, a little scared with how things have deteriorated. So, to that level. So we did up from $65,000 to $78,500. Spa material and supplies, we upped from 42 to 62 on those numbers. And again, in my opinion, this is something that maybe you're paying for up front, but as Liv gets in here and as they have their connections for different things and as they start doing the routine maintenance and looking at things, these numbers may be potential savings in the long run. Maybe not next year, but as they're here and look at what we have, if there are potential R&R opportunities to upgrade things, there may be savings here, getting more efficient things, better technology, things of that nature. That's some of the things where we are outsourcing for, and we're looking for that leverage and that expertise because we're not experts at everything on the board. We trust management and we trust the companies that we're hiring. So that's why you'll see the numbers that we put in this bucket and in this bucket are exactly the same because at this point in time for 2019, we feel they should be relatively flat. And that's why at the end of the day, for running the spa, it went from 484, basically 485,000. If we choose live, it was 761, and if we chose to do it ourselves, we felt it would have been about 731,000.
But
Just to walk through, we also put a walk at the bottom to make people clear. This is excluding live. This is just so the homeowners understand. Your 2018 budget was $377,000. And just to show the buckets of where the money went, that the board would have decided, that, again, this is strictly if we decided not to outsource. The first increase would have been adding the assistant manager, which wasn't in the budget. That was $45,000. The increase in lifeguards, based on the hours, again, this is increase in wages to $17 an hour, and the number of hours that we would need them to be at the pool to be compliant with the code would have been about $50,000. I'm sorry, that was just the increase, I apologize. That was just the increase from the wage that we were paying this year to the new wage would have been approximately $50,000 just to upgrade the level of lifeguards that are out there. And the next bucket is the regulatory requirements. And this is the bucket that you can look at that, in my opinion, is somewhat flexible. If the board decides they don't need the lifeguards, this is the bucket that would swing for you. If you decide you only need one, then, this number would go away. If you decide you didn't need any, the number would go away plus and half. But, another one for you too. But again, this is just strictly a walk for the homeowners to understand, because we're hearing everybody out there saying we're going from this budget in 2018 to this budget, and I believe the community needs to be educated that there were regulatory changes as well as a board decision to upgrade the spa due to the level of complaints and level of service. So we aren't, when you're comparing, if you're looking strictly at what was budgeted last year for the 2018 budget versus what we're looking at with outsourcing to live versus if this passes tonight, a number you would never see, which would have been what would have been budgeted for 19, but we wanted to be transparent with the homeowners. That is the basically $13,000 that you would see. You're seeing 218 here based on the changes that I just described, and then there were just immaterial variances due to rates. That was $5,000. It's not a material number, but you're basically looking at a $213,000 increase to run your spa year over year. And again, I want to be clear, comparing 18 to 19, you're not comparing apples to apples based on the regulatory requirements and a board decision to upgrade the level of service that the homeowners were getting. If the homeowners and the board decided they did not want those levels of service, you can downgrade those back to 12. You can pay a lower rate for your lifeguard, you can pay a lower rate for your spa manager, and and hope you find the right person that would stay here and survive and do well and thrive at a lower rate, and and you could not be compliant with the code, and you can go pretty close back to the number you were and be flat. So again, that's a board decision.
I just want to make another point. The opt-out is not up to us. It's an involved process. You have to petition the state health department, and the chances of them approving an opt-out would, after they saw the size of our operation, are not assured. So even if we wanted to opt out of the additional personnel, there's no guarantee it would happen.
I think at this point, we just wanted to come out here and show numbers. You can't, numbers are numbers. That's the way I look at things. And we can agree or disagree and have the Q&A at the end of this, and discuss some of these numbers. If anybody has questions, we're happy to answer.
We're going to have a full Q&A after the meeting, and a presentation by Liv, as well as a presentation by FSR.
So at this point, I think we kind of walk through the numbers, the level set. This we can keep.
Yeah, we'll keep this.
We'll have the presentation if we need to reference any numbers during the Q&A. But at this point, the goal was just to kind of walk people through and help you understand where we were in 2018 and where we would be. So before the vote, so that everybody understands, and now there could be a board discussion since I'm the only one talking, happy to let the other board members, give their opinion on where this is going.
Anyone want to state anything from the board? Okay, we're still in the president's message. Another issue is, last week when we voted on it, there was a technicality, which we have to correct. So we're going to be taking a revote on live on motion. I'm going to also take care of some loose ends that happened at the last meeting. Also, there was a lively debate between my colleague, Mr. Miller, and myself, and I stand corrected on that debate. We try our best to be right, but it's what makes this board special. We can disagree, and we can agree to disagree. There was also an issue regarding the covenants committee, and there was an issue regarding speeding tickets and whether or not a meeting took place. A meeting had taken place, and we discussed it with the covenants committee, and they certain decisions were made. We're not going to go into it, but the meeting did take place, and the decisions were made in accordance with our understanding. Okay, so that being said, that's the end of my remarks as president, and now we have next will be the treasurer controller's report. Joe? Tommy?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tommy Fierro, and I'll be presenting the financial report this evening. As of August 31st, the total available cash was approximately $4.5 million, comprised of approximately $3.9 million in the R&R account, and about $630,000 in the depository account. There's also about $1.7 million in escrow. Next, for the accounts receivable, the total as of August 31st was approximately $2.7 million for the residential, comprised of $2.6 million in legal, $51,000 in payment plans, $17,000 that are 0 to 30 days old, $150 that are 31 to 60 days old, and another $21,000 that are over 60 days old. And this month, there were approximately $402,000 worth of payments made through Red Cafe, the online payment portal. For accounts payable, the total as of August 31st was approximately $122,000, comprised of $100,000 that are 0 to 30 days old, about $1,000 that are 31 to 60 days old, $3,000 that are 61 to 90 days old, and about $18,000 that are over 90 days old. As far as the breakdown of the unit owners, as of August 31st, there were 661 owner occupants and 414 absentee owners. Of those absentee owners, 370 units are occupied by tenants, which represent approximately 34% of the total Galaxy units, which is relatively in line with what it's been in the past couple months. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you very much, Tom.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. Our next item of business is our management report. I'm going to be standing up for a minute because I do want to introduce Jim. Can you come here, please? This is Jim Weston. He's our interim general manager. He's spending a lot of time walking around and meeting with all of you. I've been spending a lot of time trying to respond to all your emails, but we want to do a better job of communicating with you and reaching out to even those of you that have the greatest differences with us. We really are not looking to fight. We really want to work with everybody. We want to make this a better place. So Jim can say a couple of words, and then we have our new operations manager. You want to introduce yourself one more time?
Hi, I'm Mark Greenberg, First Service Residential.
Okay, and Mark will be focusing on operations and making sure that all the things that you said that we're hearing are wrong are fixed. So between Jim going out there and communicating and Mark making sure that we're responding to you, we're involved in a management reorganization to try to address your concerns, your needs, and be there for you as your board and as your neighbors. Okay, so just a couple of words from Jim, and then Mark can do his operations report.
I appreciate you inviting us here tonight. My name is Jim Weston. I am part of First Service Residential. I am here on the grounds every day trying to meet as many of you as possible. As of today's date, I've personally met 213 residents. I've been happy to meet everyone, including their animals, which I love. I am basically here to try to bridge the gap between the property and the residents and ensure that everything is flowing in the right direction and everything is positive. What your concerns are very important to me. Even though I don't live here, I'm part of this solution, and I want to hear from each and every one of you. I can assure you one thing, that I will get back to each and every person that contacts me. Just give me one day, and I promise you, and anyone that has reached out to us, including myself or the team, we have gotten back to you almost immediately. And that's the way that we want to maintain the relationship. So my line is always open. If I'm here or walking around, please stop me, introduce yourself, and please, if you can, take time to just know the staff, because they are, believe me, incredible. They're just like everyone else. They're working, they're trying to make ends meet, they're supporting their family, and believe me when I tell you, they truly care. Not everyone's perfect, including myself. I make more mistakes than anyone. But if you have an issue, just come to me personally, and I promise you that I will address it. I will now hand it over to Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to be here on behalf of First Service. I've worked with the company for over 5 years, and it's been a great experience. I'm happy to be here at the Galaxy to help maintain and improve where possible services. Just a brief report. I know that a number of you were aware that we had experienced some issues with Building Link. We were fortunate enough to have our First Service regional IT person look into the matter. We have temporarily overcome issues. We've recognized some shortfalls in the system that we're looking to overcome permanently. And during this time, we'll continue to make...
I still don't receive it.
Well, I'll be happy to take your name and look into that after the meeting. Thank you for mentioning that. And permanently overcome this issue, so we'll have a consistent flow of communications. As Richard pointed out, this is communications are important. Not only do we want to maintain, but we want to improve the manner in which we communicate, and obviously this is one of the important tools that the board and management like to use to communicate with the residents. On a couple other brief notes, we are in the process of, the board has, we are in the process of obtaining and analyzing bids for the garage power washing project. And I think, Bruce, if you wouldn't mind stepping over here, because I know you're going to give a little update on a couple of things. That, and also, before I hand it over to Bruce, please be aware that come to our attention that there was a breach in the major sewer line. That was as a result of the pipe where it meets flange to flange. There's a seal there that slipped loose and allowed water to sewage water to escape. That occurred as a result of the struts that are attached to the building failing. So I believe the maintenance staff responded as quickly as possible to correct the situation. Fortunately, it won't be an expensive repair. We're not going to have to replace any piping. And if there's anything I missed on that point, perhaps Bruce, you can update us. Come on up here.
Good evening, everybody. Our sewer line had the struts that hold the pipe in place is failed. After 45 years, they rusted out and they were covered under brick. You couldn't see them, and so they failed, and that's why we had the leak. Luckily, we were able to repair it without a major water shutdown. The guy's going to give us an estimate to replace about 20 feet of pipe. These are 12-inch lines that come down from River Road to shoot up to the Kennedy Drive. Now, I'm going to give this proposal to the board and see what direction we're going to go into. Second thing, on the garage cleaning. The garage cleaning, we've gotten 4 or 5 bids. We really want to tighten it up a little bit. We want to make sure that everybody compares apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Most of the companies are all over the place suggesting this and that. So we're keeping that, and we're going to hope to have a response by the end of next week. So that went back out into review. Any other questions on it?
The lower half of the garage is still up to repair. How do you power wash that?
Well, it's actually, when we say power wash, it's going to be like a machine. It disperses water, soap, and scrubbing brush. It's like a little Balboni thing. It looks like almost like how they do the ice skating rings. The problem with us is our clearance is only 6'3". The machines are over 7'5". So we're trying to find a company, and they're out there, it's just difficult to do it. So basically, we're not going to drench this, and we're going to try to do it level by level, and it's definitely a task, but it should definitely be.
Yeah, but I don't think, maybe my question wasn't clear. The lower half of the garage has potholes, all that kind of stuff.
We recognize that.
How do you power wash that?
Well, it's not power wash. That's what we're not going to power wash. It's a machine that cleans the cement and the dirt and the grease and everything like that.
It's going to be repaired first,
right,
and then we're going to
right. Anything that's going to be addressed first that has to be done, we're going to do
As
it.
long as you clean it.
Right. It's going to be. I think it's going to be nice. We're going to also be looking at the guardrails to redo those things because those are all kind of rusty, and I think it'll come out. We have some really heavy hitters that do this for a great living, and they have a great reputation.
Okay, we didn't want to do it until the articles. Okay, Elena, okay, Elena then.
The sewer line that you were talking about, was that on the tower 3 side of the garage?
Correct. That's on the outside of the building.
Okay, and one more person in the back? No? Did you?
My question?
Yeah, you had a question?
Yes. You said the lower floors, they have not been finished in the reconstruction. The line, the ground's not painted, the line.
Yeah, they have.
I mean, it's not finished.
Okay, look, this is part of the board's initiative to do things that haven't been done for decades. We haven't really cleaned the garage for 40 years. Right, it's not finished, but whatever we can clean, we're going to fix whatever we can fix, and then.
The question is different. The question is, the construction of the garage hasn't been finished.
No, we're not. We're not doing QA, but Bruce opened it up, so I wanted to answer the people who did raise their hand. Yeah, the garage project is under consideration. We're waiting for the capital needs assessment to be completed. So let me continue with the meeting. Okay, we'll get to it, but we really want to get through everything because we have 2 major presentations. Next item is on unfinished business. The next item is the motion to approve LIV Unlimited Contract as a new spa management company. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to award the contract. I make a motion to award a contract to LIV Unlimited for the management of the spa. Motion includes to approve the final contract approved by GTCA Council based on the proposal dated July 20, 2018, and substantially in the form of the September 24, 2018 draft received from LIV Unlimited to outsource the operation of the spa and pools to LIV Unlimited. The board acknowledges and overrides Board Resolution 180404, which requires a 2-week consideration period before voting unless overridden. Motion to award contract to LIV Unlimited for the management of the spa for an annual cost of $620 $620,073. LIV Unlimited will provide staff, uniforms, and office supplies to manage all spa operations. LIV Unlimited agrees to sign a 3-year contract with no additional annual increases, with the exception of the lifeguard's hourly rate, which might have to be adjusted to comply with minimum wage increase requirements and the extra 9 days in the summer of 2020. LIV Unlimited will adjust the contract as required to reflect service schedule changes as requested by GTCA, or number of pool services would be required.
Do I hear a second? Discussion? Cornelia?
And I heard from some of you that you were concerned about the cost and the increase in maintenance. I discussed it at the board, and both president and treasurer, they assured me that we have got some surplus, and also we are going to have some saving in other lines that is going to basically cover the extra money. And that was my concern, and they assured me.
Okay, Wade?
Well, we did have extensive conversation, and we also had extensive conversation at board level as far as what the service level of the contract entailed. There were discussions about just replacing staffing or replacing with a consulting staffing firm. That went on, and the board interviewed several. Well, we interviewed several as a subcommittee, and then we brought to the board 3 different proposals, and then we narrowed it down to 2, and the board interviewed both of those. Full disclosure to the board, before any discussion started taking place with those 2 companies, and that's how we ended up with LIV. And then the financials and the accounting department did a full financial audit on it, which was what we gave you guys a preview of tonight. So that's what we looked at before the final decision was made, and that's how we ended up with it.
Anyone else? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Abstention? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, next item is the ratification of the approval of the First Service Residential contract. Do I hear a motion? Judy?
No, that's the first service. You have a second or final motion.
That's the ratification.
No,
5.1. What's the ratification? Go ahead. Richard, do you have it? Okay, Wade.
Thank you, Wade.
Motion to ratify the 1-year management contract agreement of the First Service Residential. Effective as of September the 1st, 2018, the parties hereto desire to amend the management agreement as follows. Paragraph 10 is hereby amended to the term of the agreement shall be to October 31st, 2019, provided that the term shall be deemed to be renewed on an additional 1-year period and 2 1-year periods thereafter, unless either party provides the other with written notice of its intention not to renew the least 90-day period expiration, then existing term date and termination shall be effective at the end of the calendar month. Also, the termination date. Notice that provided the president and the officers of the board 90 days prior to the end date. Paragraph 10 is hereby further amended to provide as follows. Either party shall have the right to terminate this agreement at any time, however, with cause only, by providing the other party with at least 90 days prior written notice of termination which notice shall be specifically provided on the basis of termination, and if defaulting party cures the breach, the timely cure then into the party shall have the right to be exercised within 10 business days of the expiration of the 90-day cure period to give notice of termination with an effective date not more than 90 days after notice. Agreement termination date. For the benefit of the association only, if as the agreement termination date, the association has 1. A further extension of the agreement, or 2. Retention of designated critical staff, either option or up to 60 days. In the event of critical staff retention, the agent will be paid based upon employment compensation of the original default date as the agreement multiplier and the agent's then management fee. Termination of the agreement without cause is specifically rescinded. Paragraph 20 is hereby added as follows. Within 30 days of the effective date of the 9th Amendment, the parties agree to meet and establish mutually agreed upon measurable performance goals and objectives in the areas of strategic business development and operations to be met, completed within 6 months hereof, and which will include, but not be limited to, the following as outlined above. Also, timetable and benchmarking to be included. Further, at least 120 days prior to the expiration of the term agreement, including a third term of the agreement, the parties will need to develop a schedule of deliveries for the following year. In the event of failure to meet the respective deliverables or an untimely provided deliverables, such failure will be an event of the default of giving rise to the rights under paragraph 10 of the agreement. Strategic and business development. Sub-metering RFP implementation, garage augmentation RFP, HR staffing company to organize an analysis and finalize strategic plan RFP, rooftop air conditioning RFP and implementation, marketing company to rebrand RFP, RFP selection process to be complete, and review the selection of the front desk, janitorial, and maintenance contracts due September the 14th, 9/14. Capital repositioning plan, RFPs as recommended through CNAs. Major deliverable assist to the buildings engineer with the CNA process, gather process information, provide records, etc. As they provide a comprehensive CNA report as phase 1 continues. Ongoing support regarding phase 2 and 3, which will include RFPs and bidding process. Major deliverable. Assist the building engineers with REACT process, gather building information, provide records, etc. As they prepare a comprehensive REACT report as a phase 1 continues. Ongoing support regarding phase 2 and 3, which will include RFPs and bidding process. An RFP for an emergency generator revised emergency grid system. Operations shall include implementation of an inventory system, implementation of a preventive maintenance program, and a routine maintenance system. Work with directors by means of information gathering to evaluate the feasibility and potential implementation of subsidiary restoration. That's a lot to read, sorry. Pardon me. Building link communication implementation at 100% is the only means of communicating all work orders. All communications must go through building link to capture and retain history. During implementation period, provide active training of residents and capture ongoing metrics and measure progress. Development of a standardized and comprehensive communication plan. 24-hour response to resident calls and communication maintenance and work orders. Standardization of risk management procedures. Transparency initiatives. Continued digitalization of all corporate documents. AR financials contracts in a user-friendly mode. Development and emergency response program and telephone number exchange chain for the command of future calls. Development of monthly customer service surveys to establish owner satisfaction and preferences. Develop welcome orientation programs for new owners. Tenants to include resolutions to include fines and penalties. Quarterly meetings between first service executives and residents of the Galaxy. HR initiatives to include job descriptions, personal requisition forms, standardized training development and approach by managers, standardized personnel improvement and evaluation forms, provide an organizational chart that identifies existing staff by task and function, develop KPIs to measure the performance of every department with reports provided to the board at working sessions and to the community on a monthly basis. Cross-training and cross-functionality of team, semi-annual comprehensive cleaning and garage and its elements, monthly reports of Galaxy condominium values and sales, including sales of Galaxy and comparable sales in the immediate area of North Bergen, Guttenberg, and Weehawken. On September 7, 2019, an email vote was taken to approve the Ninth Amendment of the FSR Management Agreement for 1 year to expire October the 31st, 2019. The vote was as follows. Yes, Richard Vasquez, Wade Wesson, Judy Farmer, Joe Purcell, Mike Cricko, Nancy Kukuza, Mike Barat. No, Sohaila Kebler, Richard Miller. This is the motion to ratify that vote.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, discussion? Richard Miller.
I was looking for this. I don't know if it was mentioned, this was actually a ratification of an email vote that was taken September 7th, 2019.
Right. We did mention, it's in it, yes.
Maybe wrong.
It's on page,
2018.
it's on page 33. Oh, the date is wrong. Richard knows that. It says 2019 in the document.
2018.
That's why he's on due diligence officer.
So technically, you're making a motion to amend the motion to 2018 versus 2019.
Are you making a motion to amend? Okay, second?
Second.
Discussion? Approved. Let me vote. Vote to approve. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Now we have to vote.
Okay,
I'm making a motion to approve the amended motion.
second? Discussion? Take the vote. All in favor?
This is the ratification.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda is ratification of the approval for the EFCO mechanical to replace the split HVAC system and air handler serving the spa, lounge, and small gym, and replace steam coils on the existing HVAC system servicing the indoor pool. Do I hear a motion?
Make the motion for the ratification of the approval for EFCO Mechanical to replace the split HVAC system and air handlers servicing the spa lounge and small gym, and replace steam coils on the existing HVAC system servicing the indoor pool.
How much money is it?
It's the next paragraph.
Ratification of the emergency approval to award contract to EFCO Mechanical for the installation of a new HVAC system servicing the spa lounge and small gym and steam coil replacement on HVAC unit servicing the indoor pool. Motion to award contract to EFCO Mechanical for the installation of a new split HVAC system servicing the spa lounge and small gym and steam coil replacement of HVAC unit servicing the indoor pool. The existing HVAC had exceeded its useful life expectancy and could not be repaired. New evaporator air handler system will be provided and properly connected to the existing duct, refrigerant piping, condensate drainage, and electrical power. The total cost for the installation and new HVAC equipment servicing the spa lounge and small gym not to exceed $10,600. Contractor will provide and install new HVAC unit steam heating coil, new steam piping, and new Delta Controls BMS controller for HVAC unit servicing the indoor pool for the total cost not to exceed $61,000. Emergency approval was discussed at the working session on August 29, 2018. The approval vote was as follows. Yes, Richard Vasquez, Wade Weston, Judy Freimer, Joe Purcell, Sohaila Copeland, Richard Miller, Michael Baruch, Nancy Kukuza, absent Michael Rico.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, the next item is ratification of the approval of the local law 11 equivalent engineering inspection of the exterior facades to be performed by L&M. Can you read it? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion for ratification of the approval to award contract to Wallace and Mangione, L&M, to conduct scaffold drop facade survey and inspection. Motion to award contract to Lawless and Mangione Architects and Engineers to conduct a scaffold drop survey and inspection of the exterior building facades for the total cost not to exceed $17,000. L&M will L&M will conduct a close-up inspection of 6 total close-up inspections, 2 per each tower. Emergency approval for scaffold drop facade engineering investigation was discussed at the working session on August 29, 2018. The approval vote was as follows. Yes, Richard Vasquez, Wade Weston, Judy Freimer, Joe Purcell, Sohaila Copeland, Richard Miller, Michael Baruch, Nancy Kukuza, absent Michael Rico.
Second.
Discussion. Let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, next item is motion to approve the scaffolding drops necessary for the equivalent local law 11 facade inspections to be performed by all city restoration. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to award a contract to All City Restoration for the installation of 6 suspended scaffolding drops on the exterior facades, 2 drops per every tower. Motion to award contract to All City Restoration to provide suspended scaffolding equipment for the engineer to conduct an up-close inspection of the exterior facade. Total of 6 scaffolding drops will be installed, 2 per tower. Suspended scaffolding equipment to be installed in accordance with the building code, OSHA requirements, and as per the Lawless and Mangione location sketch dated 8/23/18. Contractor to provide a 3rd safety line for this facade inspector, 2 scaffold operators and flagmen. Contractor is responsible for pedestrian protection below the suspended scaffold and all necessary roof protection. Contractor is responsible for all required licenses, permits, and approvals. This motion is a substitution for previously granted approval for Quality Facade, who decided to decline acceptance of the contract. Total price not to exceed $30,700. 3 bid proposals were received. Quality Facade at $24,750. Contractor declined to accept the contract, but they didn't have enough time to get it done properly. All City Restoration, $30,700. J. Gianella and Sons, $72,300.
Who seconds? Okay, discussion?
I just think it's worth noting that we discussed the lowest bidder, and it was comparable to the lowest. But we got email notification today that the original lowest bidder declined due to timeline and paperless. Sure. So I just think it's noteworthy to understand that we did accept the lowest bidder. The scope of work has not changed. This has to do with the evaluation of the building and their need to drop scaffolding down the building, because there's no way for them to actually do observation of the exterior of the building without having close-up examination. So part of this whole CNA React development was a need to totally evaluate the facade of the building. And if you've been on any of the higher floors and examined up, we do have some deterioration of concrete. It's nothing major or nothing that is out of the scope of the normal age of our building, but it does need some repair work in order to get a real good idea of what needs to be done. We really need to get a hands-on look. It's not something they can stand on the ground with binoculars and look. So based on the engineer's
need and desire to do that. We awarded it to the lowest contract bidder, and he said he could perform it in no amount of time, so we went with the second lowest. We went with the second lowest bidder.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, let's take a,
We had to go on discussion. What happened with the idea of using the drone? I mean,
even if, this is being driven by L&M and the CNA, so they need to get up very, very close in order to look at, they're the engineers, they're doing the CNA, they need the scaffolding, this is done in every CNA analysis. They have to look at pointing, they have to look at weep holes, they have to get into real detail. So we had to do it, they asked us to do it. It's part of the overall evaluation of the building exterior. I don't know if any of you, but I had part of my brickwork outside my window coming apart. There are probably people here that have similar situations, and in order to get a good look at it, they have to get up close and personal, something a drone can't do. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor? Okay. All opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, next item is ratification of the approval for Liberty Elevators as the new elevator service maintenance contractor. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to ratify the approval of the 5-year vertical transportation maintenance contract with Liberty Elevators Corporation of Patterson, New Jersey. Motion to approve the 5-year vertical transportation maintenance contract with Liberty Elevator of Patterson, New Jersey, dated August 31st, 2018, for the equipment maintenance of 15 traction and 1 hydraulic elevator. Terms of the contract are as follows. 5-year contract to commence on September 1st, 2018. Annual maintenance for all 16 elevators will be billed monthly at $18,500 per month. Additional equipment repairs as mandated by the elevator consultant will be billed as per the fee schedule in Exhibit C. 5 vertical transportation contractors were invited to bid. Yes, I can. It's $18,500 per month. And vertical transportation is their fancy way of saying elevators. An emergency vote approval was taken on August 29, 2018 at the working session. The vote was yes, Richard Vasquez, Wade Weston, Judy Freimer, Joe Purcell, Nancy Kukutza, Michael Baruch, Sohaila Kobler, Richard Miller, absent Michael Creco.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion on the motion? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Okay, the next item is motion to approve a 3-year boiler maintenance contract to be performed by EFCO Mechanical. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to award a 3-year contract to EFCO for domestic hot water system equipment preventive maintenance. The preventive maintenance will be performed on the following heating system elements. 2 burners, model LNEG 210 size 2, 2 visits per year, once in the spring and once in the fall. 1 Shipco duplex boiler feed pump station, 2 visits per year, coinciding with burner PM. 3 backup domestic hot water heat exchangers, 1 per tower, 2 visits per year. 9 domestic hot water heat exchangers, 3 per tower, 2 visits per year. 3 pool hot tub water heat exchangers located in the pool mechanical room, and 1 spa showers domestic hot water heat exchanger located in the north mechanical room, 2 visits per year. Delta Controls BMS alarms testing, 2 visits per year. Total annual fee $12,400 plus applicable sales tax. Invoice quarterly of $3,100 plus applicable sales tax. A 20% discount of $92 will be applied with a 3-year contract.
Okay, so here's seconds. Discussion on the motion. Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, next item is motion to approve a change order for lintels replacement on the mall planter.
I make a motion to approve a change order to J. Gianella and Sons for lintels replacement on the upper mall entrance. This additional work was not included in the original contract agreement. After the contractor removed brick and exposed the existing lintels, it was noted that the existing waterproofing membrane was in poor condition and broken apart. There was also a void noted between the steel lintel and the floor slab above where the steel straps are hanging. Because of this void, the contractor will need to install an inverted angle bolted to the existing floor slab in order to properly remove and replace the steel lintels below. This will allow the bricks above to be supported. This will also result in the need to replace 4 courses of masonry above the lintels as well. Merit Engineering advises that the additional work is critical to ensure sound structural stability of the structure. Change order number 2 for phase 1 work not to exceed $35,672. The original contract sum was $2,717.50. Net change by previous authorized change orders total $39,300. The new contract sum, including this change order, will be $352,989.50.
Do I hear a second?
Second motion.
Okay, discussion.
Yeah, I just want to comment that they've done a fabulous job. They really have, and you know, all the work that has been accomplished while Dorothy has been general manager. We've had 1, maybe 2 change orders. That's pretty phenomenal. You know, I commend her, and I commend the company that's doing the work. I'm very impressed with the work. They're really greatness. Good job. Good job.
We had some controversy, and I agreed, and Director Miller brought it up, and initially we were on the same page on that it was sort of unfortunate that wasn't noticed ahead of time. However, when we start peeling back the galaxy, as long as I've been involved, we peel back, every time we peel back, we find another problem. So there's years of neglect that's under there. So as much as I would love to have been foreclosed in the beginning, I do understand that it's better to finish it the right way. We ripped it all up, we pull it all up, we might as well finish the job and do it the right way this time before we just put another band in.
Richard Miller.
In case people don't know what the lintels are, these are the steel, narrow steel like plates that you'll see on top of doorways, on top of windows, because this way the brick rests on it. And it's the whole area, the overhang on the
Where the signs used to be.
right, where the signs
You
were.
know, the movie signs used to be.
At the bottom of the upper mall. So if you're at the lower mall, you look up. That's what supports the actual brickwork. And they were all rusted, and you couldn't fix it.
Anybody else? Okay, let's call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, motion to approve L&M to design new emergency generator.
I make a motion to award contract to Lawless and Mangione for design of a new emergency generator. The existing generator was installed approximately 20 years ago, and due to lack of preventive maintenance, the unit has exceeded its useful life expectancy. Cracks on the fuel tank are significant and result in oil leakage. Major repairs have been performed annually and are cost prohibitive. Currently, the unit has reached its full capacity and no additional equipment can be added. The Tower 1 lobby and management office are not connected to the existing generator. Therefore, in case of a major emergency and power loss, operations will be compromised. The newly designed unit will have a much larger capacity to include all necessary towers, common areas, management office, as well as new mechanical equipment that the community is in the process of replacing. L&M will provide engineering services to design the new unit, prepare bidding documents, and oversee the installation of the new unit. The total cost will be billed as follows. Phase 1, scope of work and design document preparation. Total cost not to exceed $35,000. Phase 2, bidding documents and bidding process, $3,000. Phase 3, construction administration to be billed hourly. L&M standard hourly rates are as follows. Principal, $300. Senior associate, $250. Associate, $220. Project manager, $205. Senior project architect engineer, $195. Project architect engineer, $175. Senior architect engineer, $160. Architect engineer, $135. Technician draftsman designer, $110.
Do I hear a second? Yes, so here is second. Discussion? Wait,
Do we know a not to exceed?
this is the engineering, isn't it?
I understand that. Do we know a not to exceed?
No.
Say that out loud.
He asked if there is a not to exceed cost. I just want to invite, if I may, this is not just a generator. This is looking at the generator and the generator grid. The system that we have is not only antiquated, it's never been full load tested. The last time we full load tested it, I think, was 10 years ago. There's a real concern on the board that if we get stormier, we're going to land up in a disaster. So today, in talking to First Service, we made it clear that we need this to get done right away. Okay, oh, sorry. It's not to exceed 35,000. Phase 1. I'm sorry. The issue is that everything we're doing in the CNA is not just for now. It's going into the future. Everything, the CNA, the strategic plan that we're developing is a 10-year plan. It's not just about, what we're going to do this year. It's a 10-year plan not only to look at the infrastructure, it's to look at the rebranding, it's to look to enhance value, it's to enhance safety and security for our residents, and to have behind it a financial plan to pay for everything. So the generator is critical because, as you know, storms are coming into the area. We're over an aquifer, so it's very important to get this done.
Can I just?
Yes.
Can I just make a motion to amend the motion not to exceed 35,000? The motion doesn't have a not to exceed, so I'm just amending.
But it's, the only thing, okay. Okay, do we have a second? Okay, so, discussion on the motion. Oh, Richard.
I agree also, it's very important. However, there's a few things. A&D engineers was very familiar with this generator. I remember I forwarded Dorothy the old, let's say, layout, whatever was on the emergency generator. He made recommendations, it was quite a while ago, how to upgrade it and what to put on the emergency generator. I also worry, it's good and bad, we're giving a lot of work to L&M. So it has positives and negatives. There was not 3 bids for this. And just during the last big storm, Sandy storm, the lights in Tower 1 lobby didn't work. We found out the main office wasn't on it, so we couldn't communicate with homeowners. So there were big problems. It is necessary, but the last time I read anything on it, probably the size generator we're going to need, it could be $750,000 to $1 million. I don't know if it's changed or not. but I get worried. We're doing this, we're doing that, it's very important, but we're just grabbing it. I know we're working on the CNO, and we'll then prioritize what we have to do in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. But we're doing an awful lot right now, and we're gonna deplete the reserves like nothing. So, I'm very worried.
Okay, I'd like to respond to that. First of all, Richard, we have $3.9 million in reserve. Okay, that's as of right now.
That's very far.
Please. Okay, so we are managing our reserves very effectively. The building was designed with an emergency generator. It's not like we're just coming up with a new idea. We have a broken emergency generator. It wouldn't survive. We haven't done a full load test because we're afraid it's going to break in the middle of the full load test. Now, if you have a generator that doesn't work, that was designed to work for the building, that's not a little thing. You know, so you know, when we look at these things, what we're fixing are major elements of emergency preparedness. And a building like this, right off the water, considering what we went through with Sandy and where we landed up, with people sleeping in the lobbies of Tower 3 and River Road completely flooded when the pit hits the shan, so to speak. Okay, everyone's going to say, why don't we have power? So, you know, it's very nice right now while we're comfortable over here to talk about, you know, not having, not having a power generator because it's not needed. But if it's needed, we need to address it. Now, as far as the health of the reserve, the reserves are very healthy. Okay, and we're picking, the reserves are built up at the rate of about $3 million, we're reserving around $3 million. Once we get the CNA, then we're going to deal with certain priorities. But we can't go without an emergency generator for years and years and years. So, Mike.
Yeah, all right. You know, I tried in a little bit with what Director Miller is saying myself. You know, we've past 3-4 months, I think we've done about 20 RFPs. I mean, you know, I understand you want to get things repaired, but to do everything within such a short period could wind up being a very hard burden for the homeowners. The fact that we have only 2 bids concerns me, you know? One bid, one. I mean, if we're going to be doing projects like that, and this one is a very large one, I think we should hold off on this until we get at least a couple more proposals on it. That's my suggestion.
Joe? Joe, Mike, do you know the burn rate on our R&R right now?
No, I don't.
No, but you need the numbers. Do you know the burn
I need
rate?
the budget so that.
Yeah, but do you know the burn rate?
Determination about how much we're spending, how much.
But you don't know the burn rate.
You don't just say burn rate all you want. You need 3 bids when you go.
I'm pointing out, what I'm pointing out is, first of all, we're talking about an engineering study. We're not talking about buying a generator. We're talking about, Gail, please, this is between the board.
I think we should hold off on this.
Okay, anyway, the issue here is to get an engineering study done, to see what kind of generator we need and where the distribution is going to be. This is not about getting a generator. Secondly, you know, when you start talking about use of R&R, this is the kind of stuff that goes on in the galaxy. We create fear without knowing numbers. The reality is, I'm going to hand this over to Joe. I'm going to hand this to Joe Purcell so he can give us an idea of our burn rate, how much money we're spending on R&R right now. Because it's not about how many things you spend R&R on, it's how much money are you spending. So hold on. Joe. Gail, if you please.
At this point in time, there's approximately $3.9 million in the R&R, but it's not the equivalent of what checks are pending. I can work with the county, but on a monthly basis, as the checks go out the door, it's provided to the homeowners as well as the board, you know, where we are with the financial statements. This year, we wrapped up the hallway, we wrapped up the boilers, which were two major projects. The board has put a stop on the garage, which was costing us between $1 and $1.3 million per floor. So this year, the R&R there hasn't been material spent on the R&R. It's been sitting close to 3.9. The money that's going out based on what I'm considering, smaller projects versus the multi-million-dollar projects. Every year, the minimal, it's a board decision when the budget comes around. I've been consistent in what I've said. And since I've been treasurer on the board where we've been putting in $3 million a year to the R&R, which I believe is a fair amount for the homeowners that are living here. This year to fund, there's many problems. The board needs to prioritize it. This board has been spearheading the CNA, which is supposed to prioritize what is considered an emergency and what are the priorities. And I believe this year the board is relatively conservative with the R&R spend as it's at 3.9 million. For the next couple months, we're going to get 200 and change in there, on our monthly maintenance. Get to the end of the year, the outflows, my expectation should be around 3.5 or so million by the end of the year, depending on what the board chooses to approve for the remainder of the year, with 3 million coming in again at a minimum. Again, the board needs to vote on the budget, not me. My recommendation has always been approximately 3 million for the homeowners, a fair amount of people living here today, rather than upping that number and saying, if you live here this year and we decide we want to do a lot this year, the homeowners that live here this year do it. We have had reserve build up over the last year that's been consistent around this amount. We do our best to, to track it. And I think a lot of this is going to be dependent on the CNA, because when the CNA comes out, that may be the piece that discloses what the priorities for the board are. And until that document comes out, I believe that's why this year the board has been relatively conservative with starting any major projects as well as stopping the parks.
Yes, a few things I'd like to respond to. I realize we have a lot to get done. I compliment you on how you turn things around. I'm not saying it's not important, but we have so much to do. Until recently, we had 4.9 million. We have other big projects to do also, still bearing in mind the emergency generator is necessary. We have major garage work. All of you know that project was abandoned. And originally, that project was supposed to get done in 2019, but it's been postponed and postponed. That means all the floors. Hopefully, we'll hear something about the garage when the CNA is finished, because if concrete beams go in the garage, and we did some work on it, then it's a real big expenditure. So I'm worried all the time about the garage. It would just be better if we had more bids, because we've been giving an awful lot to L&M.
I just want to be clear to the homeowners, anything that seems to be financial seems to be, and I'm not saying Richard Miller pointed towards me, but the garage contract was a 3-year contract for a certain number of floors. Any director that's sitting on the board had any right to bring up to management and bring up the concerns to say they wanted to continue that project. That's not a general manager initiative, that's a board initiative, and the board members are responsible for doing that. Not one board member, but if any motion that's brought to the table to get 5 votes, I'm not talking to Beanie at the moment, I'm trying to just make a statement. But the point I'm trying to make to the homeowners is, there's 9 board members up here. If the garage is imperative to any one board member, they should group enough board members to bring that and escalate that as a priority, and that should be addressed to get the engineering and to continue the process. When the project ends, it's on the emphasis of the board, not one board member. There's 9 board members, and that's exactly why there's 9 board members.
And Richard,
Yes.
regarding the 4.9, do you suggest we shouldn't have done the hallways? We shouldn't have done the
Come on, you're
doors?
twisting the words.
No, I'm just saying,
No,
when
of course
you,
not. Of course not.
so when you throw out a number, let me point out, point out.
I'd like to point out you do the same
Wait,
thing.
wait. Richard, you want me to stop?
Yes,
Let you
please.
argue? Okay, John, our council would like to say
See
something.
you, I spit.
Just one,
Phoebe, you're gonna be removed, please.
Leave.
you can't remove it. One point of qualification.
You're hurting my eyes.
Professional contract, according to Administrative Resolution 44, does not require multiple bids. The board has discretion to award that contract on a single proposal.
Excuse me. This is the Galaxy. We've been trying to run the Galaxy like a business. We've been trying to be civil here. And we keep on getting interrupted by people. Is that what we want here? Do we want to continue to have meetings where the same people interrupt us again and again? I don't want to get into an argument with anybody here. I'm not looking to fight. Richard and I may disagree, but we worked very hard together on the elevator contract. And we worked very hard together on the lift contract. So whatever you see here, we work together. Okay? There's not, and I have, and I respect Richard. I actually made him the due diligence officer. So and he recognized. So I just want to say that there's civility that's required, and we would like to run it like a business. Richard, we just, we have differences of opinion. I respect Richard's opinion. I hope he respects mine. So let's continue on this. Let's take a vote.
Can I just say one quick thing?
Okay, further discussion.
I just wish there was some, Dorothy made mention about the emergency generator. No real discussion. All of a sudden, this bid turns up. That's all. I would just like more discussion so there's more educated directors.
Okay.
I would hope others would agree with me.
Okay. Would you like to make, out of respect, would you like to make a motion to table? Richard?
I'll make a motion to
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Those in favor? Those opposed? Okay. Does it pass, right? We have abstentions, so. Let's vote on the motion then. Okay. We have an amendment. Now, no. Wait. I didn't see.
I made a motion to table.
We had a second. What was the vote? I didn't see. Hands up. Okay, fine. Motion passes.
Motion
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, fine. The motion is tabled. Next. Okay, there is a motion to approve, next item is a motion to approve new GCA committee members. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve the new governmental affairs committee members. This will be 509A, because we need a second motion to approve the chair. Okay, so this will be the motion to approve the governmental affairs committee members.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Discussion on the motion.
I'm going to read the names of the members. Susan Townsend, Myra Brodsky, Judith Courtney, Norma Manigan, Joseph Contijoc, Sari Zuckerman, and Rex Shaw.
Discussion? Anybody? Okay, so I move the vote. Those in favor of the members? Those opposed? Well, let's vote. Okay, let's take a vote. Okay. Those in favor? Those in favor? Okay. Yeah, motion passes. Votes opposed? 3. And 1 abstention? Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
5.90.
Yes, the chair. Another. Yes.
We have to approve the chair.
Yeah. They already
But they haven't voted as.
Okay, there's a motion that we want to, they want to approve the chair, but they just became members, so,
The board chair approves the chair.
okay, so they don't vote for the, okay, fine. Okay, so, go ahead.
5.9B. I make a motion to approve the chair of the Governmental Affairs Committee, Rex Shaw.
I second.
Okay, second. Okay, discussion on the motion. Okay, vote, discussion on the motion.
Sorry, I missed the discussion about governmental affairs. This has been one of the most important committee in Galaxy. They have done fabulous work. They have done, they really encouraged a lot of voters to vote. They had so many events here that was fabulous, and I thank for the work from before, and I hope they continue with a great job in future.
Okay, any further discussion, Joe?
My only concern with Government Affairs Committee is that there's two sides to every story, and I just feel that the committees that I've seen here in the past has been one-sided, and I think that if the owners are interested enough, they should be attending the meetings themselves and formulating their own opinion rather than getting potentially a one-sided response. Things that I've seen in the past, as these committees were brought up, I've been hearing things are not political, things are political, but if there's a vote for something, to me, it's always political. And if people are telling me that when you have to go out to the polls and vote for something, it's not political, I'm just not buying what they're selling. So I'm concerned that there'll be undue influence on the voters of the Galaxy to make their own decisions.
You know, I'm not, I'll support whatever the majority supports, I support whatever the community wants. I just am not, I don't think that GTCA should be involved in politics. That's my only opinion, but I'll support whatever the board supports and whatever the community supports, I'll be behind it.
Okay, any, Michael Bruce?
I was on the Governmental Affairs Committee. Two members were on it who were actually involved with the town. Richie and Justin Mack. Both of them were on the committee when I was on there. So it's more than just one-sided.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I would like to say something.
Yeah.
We have to understand what the purpose of the Governmental Affairs Committee is. Theirs is not the job to give their opinion to anybody about anything. Their job is to inform the community, to run I don't want to say events, but to run meetings, informational meetings, to let us know what's happening. Okay, they help to get out the vote. They will never tell anybody who to vote for. These are very, very high principled people. I've known them for years. They are not going to tell anybody who to vote for. They are not here to be political. They are here to help the Galaxy understand what is happening in the community, what's going on with taxes if we need information for that. And yes, and other important issues that affect us as a group, as the GTCA.
No, we're pleased as a board, okay?
So I really don't think they are political. If they do get political, then it's the job of the board to say, hey, you're getting political. Okay? Every committee reports to the board and is responsible to the board for their behavior and the way they behave. And I'm going to say again, these are highly principled people that are going to try to be fair and non-political in their job as committee members on this committee. What they do in their personal life is their business, but as part of this committee, they have to follow the rules.
Thank you, Judy.
Any further discussion? Yes.
The only other thing I'll say is the new mayor of the town wanted to attend, have an event at the Galaxy, and certain people, you know, there were people that were against it, saying it was a political event. Yet in the time I was on the board, we sat in this very room, and people that weren't necessarily for that were on the Government Affairs Committee at the time, while they were town officials and and Hudson County officials in the room, and they said if we allow the government, the mayor on the property, we're going to allow any branch or any person that wants to come in here, noting the KKK as well as other people. Yet we sat in here while we had Hudson County people, representatives throughout Hudson County sitting in this very room, and the mayor wanted to do something down by the mall and get to embrace and learn and have the opportunity to meet the residents, and that did not happen. I don't know why it didn't happen. I don't see anything wrong with meeting the mayor and the current representatives. I was supporting it. But again, while I was on the board, I sat in this very same room with multiple Hudson County officials in the room with the Government Affairs Committee. That was okay, this one wasn't, and that's my concern, that there's, anything you vote, there's two sides to anything you're gonna vote on, and I want everybody to be able to hear both sides to it. We're not gonna agree with both sides, everybody's gonna pick their side, but I think it's very important to hear both sides of every point that's out there.
GHC doesn't get to make those
Okay,
decisions,
listen,
the board does.
you know, okay, listen, we have lived and we have two presentations that have to be made, one more comment and we're gonna move on.
That event was a non-political event. That was a school event. School is non-partisan.
I call the question.
Okay,
We didn't vote on chair.
That's what I'm calling the question.
right, let's take a vote, all in favor of the chair? All in favor of the chair? Mike? All in favor? Dennis?
Yes.
No? Okay, passes.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I was in the moment. All in favor, all opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, there is a procedural error in the agenda. The presentation by Liv and First Services after the adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Okay, second, okay, meeting's adjourned. Now, who's in favor? Everybody's opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay. Not an easy job, not an easy job. Okay, okay, listen, what we're gonna do now is,
You said you were going to address the notice of this meeting and change the
right, okay. My understanding, okay, yes. It has been advertised, I'll be happy to give you the names of the papers. We'll announce it in the weekend update tomorrow. It was in the papers. Okay, if it wasn't, you know, I will tell you, I asked this question several times. I was assured that it was put in the papers. I was assured, I was actually in the hospital last week when this was announced. I called up from the hospital. I was told it was placed in the papers, but I will double check. Okay.
None of the votes are binding.
I'm telling you what I know, okay? So, what we're going to do is, we're going to have Jim moderate the Q&A on this. What we're going to do is give everybody one question. They're going to do a presentation.